The Joe Rogan Experience.
And then you also have this crazy green drink that you were telling me about.
Yeah. So this right here is spirulina. Ever since I changed my diet up, I need to have a couple of these every single day, and it makes me feel good. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't eat meat anymore, so I know you're a big meat eater.
Yeah.
So.
Do you eat fish or any of that?
No.
Nothing. All vegan?
All vegan.
When did you become vegan?
Probably about I want to say probably about almost 2 years now.
Really?
Yeah, almost 2 years now.
Like it?
I love it.
Really?
Love it. It's changed my life, man. It's been one of the things I can honestly say that's just revolutionized my complete everything. It's been everything that's lately that has changed me from a mental standpoint, physical standpoint, and even a spiritual standpoint.
I definitely think it changes the mind, because this all meat diet that I've been on, that changes your mind the other way. It makes you more aggressive. Yeah, too much so. Yeah, I have to work out extra to keep the demons at bay.
It's the blood.
It's that. It's also like, if you think about it, if your body thinks, okay, I have to eat animals all the time because all this motherfucker eats is animals, right?
Right.
If your body thinks that, your body's going to sort of take on the characteristics of something that's a predator, right? You would become more, I mean, this is obviously like some bullshit bro psychology because I'm a moron, but I would say your body is going to think, I'm more aggressive. I have to chase shit down and kill it.
Yeah.
Right? That's you have to be more predatory. But your body has to think that way.
I can get with that. It makes sense, though. It makes sense.
Did you do it right after you retired?
I kind of, not right after I retired. It was kind of something that kind of just happened. Like ever since cause I do mushrooms, right?
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So it was when I did when I had a really, really deep trip that just caused me to have one of those ego deaths. Mm-hmm. And when I had the ego death, I was like in a state where this knowingness was coming to me. And it was like, I was like, it was all day. I did a mushroom ceremony, and it was all day, and I was just out in the sun and just, in my own mind. And then I was smelling real bad, and then I smelled myself. And ever you catch a smell of yourself, and I was like, oh my God, I stink. And then the knowingness said, like, you stink because you eat dead, rotting flesh. And it said, if you want life, then you eat life. That's what this knowingness said to me. And then I was like, that's a strange thought to just come into my mind like that. And then after that, no kidding, like I just lost my taste for meat. And I used to eat all kinds of meat. I would eat pork, and I was, big into pork and big into like all kinds of meat. And I was never one of those diet guys at all. But after that happened to me, after I had that experience, it was just like one of those things that that I just couldn't help but go into. Like I just lost the taste for meat.
One trip.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of started when I like about 8 months before that, I did the toad. And then the toad was one that really was the catalyst for everything.
There's a lot of people listening going, what the fuck is he saying? You did the toad?
Yeah. So 5-Meo DMT, which is the toad. And the toad was one that was, I guess, the catalyst of busting that gate open. And
that's a crazy psychedelic. That's a very underrated psychedelic.
Oh my God, that will.
Yeah,
man.
That's the first really. I had done mushrooms before, but I did a fairly small dose. I mean, fairly small in that I could walk around. I was pretty whacked out, but I could walk around like a couple grams. But the 5-Meo DMT was the first one where I just ceased to exist. I just stopped, and it made me really aware of ego, really aware of like even the way I express myself, the way I would frame sentences and say things. I was trying to sound cool, or I was trying to portray something in a way, like not just trying to portray the information, but trying to impress people, and it made me like feel real gross.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like when I had my 5-Meo experience, it was man, I never thought that consciousness could be so vast and so big. When you have that experience with the 5-Meo, it just like it made this consciousness look as if like it was a a drop in a bucket, just like a little drop. And I got to experience the ocean of consciousness. And that right there was the most humbling experience I ever had, just to feel my ego, who I thought I was, what I thought I was, completely just annihilated, and to feel what I actually was. It was crazy.
Yeah, I feel like regular consciousness that most of us exist in most of the time is a veneer. It's a very thin veneer.
Yeah.
And through some things, you get a taste of what's under the surface through meditation and yoga and all these different methods that people use, holotropic breathing. You get a taste of what's underneath the surface. Kundalini yoga, apparently. I've never really done it, but some people say you could really trip out if you do it in a certain way for long periods of time. People have like very intense psychedelic experiences akin to DMT.
Yeah, I had like a Kundalini kind of experience, like an awakening, where it was like as I just had, felt like the top of my head just completely was gone, and it was like I was just open to all like the information. It was like I had no head. Like it was just information was just pouring into,
like no roof. Was this from Kundalini?
No, it was from mushrooms, but it was from
a similar type.
But I felt that that Kundalini experience where you see the light.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like this really intense light that happens in my head, and it was just boom. You see the universe.
Well, that thing about the center of your head. That's what there's a lot of speculation on what the Egyptians were trying to draw when they were drawing certain images, but there's certain temples that seem to mimic certain shapes in these temples that seem to mimic the pineal gland. Like even the eye, there's that famous Egyptian eye that has that sort of dip down, that weird sort of Egyptian shape. There's been a bunch of different scholars that have tried to figure out what exactly that meant, and one of the theories is that that's a cross section of the pineal gland. And they think that what they were emphasizing was that is the area where the brain produces all the psychedelic chemicals. And they speculated this for a long time, but Dr. Rick Strassman, he's the guy that wrote that book, DMT, The Spirit Molecule, and there was actually a documentary on it that I hosted. And he's done a bunch of work with this Cottonwood Research Foundation where they've shown now that it exists in live rats, and that it is actually produced by that gland, that DMT is actually produced in these animals by this one particular gland that they associated with spiritual awakening with the third eye. So it actually is a real thing, that feeling that you get. And the thing about mushrooms that's really interesting is mushrooms actually mimic natural human neurochemistry. There's 5-MeO DMT, there's N-N-DMT, and then what mushrooms, what it's processed to, the way it your body processes it becomes something called 4-phosphorylloxy N-N-dimethyltryptamine. So it's all real close. I might have butchered that technical description, but it's real close to human neurochemistry. So your body absorbs it very easily. Your body takes it in. Your body knows what it is. Your body knows what to do with it.
See, when I was I like mushrooms because the mushrooms. So the 5-MeO is so powerful that you can't really get a handle on what happened. Like I came back from being away for like 17 minutes. And I'm just like, whoa, that was intense. I felt as if like I was everything all at the same time. And it was, so many different things that was just happening, but you really can't unpack it because it's incomprehensible to an extent, for the larger extent, because you're dealing with concepts that the human mind can't even grasp because there's no vocabulary to speak about it,
Right.
So when I did the mushrooms were kind of like the rivers and the lakes that leads to the ocean. And it helps me understand how I am part of something so big and something so grand. So when I had my mushroom experiences, they were all different in some respect, like whenever I do go deep, because I like to go deep. I don't play around with like
microdosing.
I mean, I do microdosing sometimes, but I like to get in there with like 5 grams, maybe 10.
That's how you know
big,
what's up.
Yeah, those big ones, the big doses where you get kind of scared.
Once you ate it, and then you know you got like 40 minutes before it kicks in. You're like, oh boy, there's no turning back now.
There's no turning back now. But that's the thing about it, when you face that fear of just going deep, and it's helped me out so much.